guys, what is going on? RedMaster here, and welcome back to the episode of Cards and Castles TV commentary. It's been a while since I've done one of these, and of course, you guys seem to like the newer format that I present them in. Had made some adjustments, though. A couple of you were mentioning the sort of white bar above. That was purely because of the file type I was using. Those have been fixed, however. Hopefully, you guys enjoy the newer presentation style that I'm giving them in. Or at least the white bar is no longer there to disrupt some of your attention, I guess. If people were kind of distracted by that, that is no more. And as before we get started, just want to quickly mention something as well. I am a little stuffy. Did have some allergy problems over the past few days, and why I haven't recorded for a bit. Kind of taken some a moment or two off. Normally I would have had a video out yesterday, but of course allergies kind of kept me from doing that, or at least the way I was feeling was not exactly 100%. I'm feeling better now, but if you do hear a little stuffy voice, a little congestion in my the way I speak, that's kind of the reasoning behind that. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into match number 1 to start off this edition of TV commentary. Alright, so our first match is going to be UnhlpfulYoda taking on Vasea Mel. We can see dragons in the hand of Vasea, meanwhile Pirate Crusader from Yoda, so we can assume Greed. And to put a stamp on it, that's a Master Thief, so again, pretty much confirming there that, hey, he's playing Greed. Vasea, meanwhile, on his turn 2, going to go ahead and throw the Dragon Temple. He has the extra gold, or at least he has the gold for it, so getting a little bit ahead in the global buff side of things. Meanwhile, Yoda taking the, or playing his Trump building, if you will, playing the School of Knowledge. And great positioning, or at least heads-up positioning by UnhlpfulYoda, playing the Master Thief right around here to position his School of Knowledge in a safe spot. Pretty much the safest spot, I think, in the current game, or at least the current format. Pretty much placing your buildings right along the bottom or the top corners along this side. So pretty much untouchable, even with chain. I know if you do throw the buildings behind the castle, there is a susceptibility to a lightning blade, or at least chain in general. So Yoda recognizes Vasea is running Viking, does have that chain potential, so putting the School of Knowledge in the safe spot protects his big building, or at least protects his, building that he wants. Of course, keeping that longer means that Yoda's going to have a better chance at winning this matchup, considering how, Greed works. Meanwhile, Vasea's going to go ahead and throw out the 4/4 Ice Drake thanks to Dragon Temple. Yoda, though, going to take the approach with the Southport Captain, or at least take a, I guess, a greedy approach to, not put a pun on that. But, of course, not only getting the ramp out, but, of course, the draw from School of Knowledge later. And we see an aggressive Shadow Drake from Vasea in response. Yoda going to go ahead and simply armor up, as you can see here, with Master Thief, again, putting the armory in another safe spot, the other safe spot, if you will. Medal of Bravery to utilize School's draw further, plus Con Artist going to do work for Yoda, or at least hoping it can do work. Of course, hoping to utilize both Con Artist's combo and Awaken Gold Gain for the School of Knowledge. And, of course, keeping Captain off the castle in fear of Lightning Blade. Now, I do want to highlight this play, and I'll let you kind of see it before I explain a little bit. We see Shadow Drake, of course, not only hit the castle, but instead of taking more damage on the castle, he's going to hit the School of Knowledge. And that is a great, great heads-up play. Vasea recognizing that he can't go a prolonged game with Greed, he's going to take out their big important building, and that is the School of Knowledge. The longer School does stay on the board, and of course the more gold that Yoda is able to kind of throw out there, or at least more treasure, if you will, that he's able to throw out on the board, the longer we're going to see, or at least the more powerful we'll see Yoda become. That's kind of what I'm getting at here. With School of Knowledge, they have the ability to just continually draw resources into their hand. And again, the reason why I thought Greed was so powerful, and the reason I ranked it high on my archetype tier list. But anyway, moving on to the matchup itself, we're going to see how Yoda responds with his School, of course, missing. He will throw out a Minotaur to kind of take care of the Shadow Drake, and of course a combined effort from Master Thief and Southport Captain will kill off the Ice Drake. Now, personally, I do find it unfortunate that Yoda had to take 2 bodies for one, especially when that one body was the Ice Drake. But what can you do? It highlights both the global buff potential and the Dragon Temple a little bit further. Of course, Con Artist is still alive, though. We're going to see that move up to take more of an offensive position. And, of course, Vasea going to throw out the Stone Drake. Pretty much the only move I could see him really making in this scenario. He would ideally like to save the Green Drake for a Faithful Drake play. Of course, throwing them both out together, not only giving Green Drake the buff, but having more bodies on the field. But of course, Stone Drake, not a bad card to play in response. We'll see him use it to take out the con artist to try and force a trade out of the Minotaur. However, of course, we do know that Yoda might have a bit more to take care of that Stone Drake, so he will take 7 damage on the castle. Playerless Horseman, it does snipe off the Dragon Temple, and of course, Elvish Thief as well is going to be the card that comes out to trade with the Stone Drake, so we can see he's taking more of a ramp priority rather than protecting his Horseman, or at least rather protecting his Elvish Thief. He's going to go ahead, sack that, so he does prioritize the ramp a bit more in this scenario, which you can only imagine what is in his hand waiting. Meanwhile, Vasea going to throw out the Ice Drake, trades with the Minotaur. Faithful Drake trades with the Horseman. However, not enough to throw out the Green Drake, and not enough cards to actually give Green Drake that 2/2 buff. Meanwhile, Swordsman comes in from UnhlpfulYoda that can do big damage on the castle if he allows that to live. But we will see how Vasea combats this, and it's pretty good in my opinion. You can throw out the Masuda, and of course Green Drake. Not exactly able to kill off the Swordsman yet, but meantime, you know, hoping to maybe find another dragon to buff that Green Drake. Meanwhile, Yoda seeing the opportunity, going to go ahead, slap the castle for 5 with the Swordsman, throw the Minotaur out, plus Elvish Thief to kind of put, hopefully, an exclamation point on this match saying it's over, I have the win. However, Vase is not going to go down just yet. We see the Yenaroth come out from him, and this is a great way for him to take out the Swordsman here. Freezing it off so that way it doesn't get any sort of retaliating damage, and of course his castle continuing to be protected. However, Yoda going to go ahead, throw out the Dread Pirate Robins. Not a really big turn for him, but of course, what can you do when half your board is frozen? So he's just going to throw out the Dread Pirate Robins, going to go ahead and end his turn there, but does have 5 additional gold for next turn. Meanwhile, Vasea going to go ahead and take out the Minotaur here. We see a kind of not the favorable trade he wants to make, but of course Faithful Drake plus the Yenaroth is going to deal with the Minotaur, and of course leaving that Elvish Thief to smack either Yenaroth, the castle, or the Green Drake. We're going to see the castle of course take a hit here, and ultimately game over thanks to the Arbiter's return. So kind of stamping the exclamation point on the matchup with a devastating endgame Arbiter. So overall, I think it's still going. So overall, a strong showing from Greed yet again. We can see why they're such a powerful deck. I mean, I didn't really think, honestly, the Dragons were going to take it over Greed, but we did see some great heads-up play from Vasea. We did see some real power behind them. Of course, the preemptive play, or not the preemptive, the heads-up play with the School of Knowledge, taking that out early on. The freezing of Swordsman to kind of counteract his retaliating damage, and of course destroying his castle earlier. So there were some good plays out of Vasea in that match. However, Greed was still able to come out on top. But regardless, a great match nonetheless. And with that being said, let's go ahead and move right on into match number 2. And for our next match, it will be Icebergsz taking on DragonStorm. Not exactly colors we see often. Of course, although we just saw the purple-blue out of Vasea. I don't know if they're going to be the same deck. We'll see. Kind of only time will tell. DragonStorm looking to be running an interesting blue-red deck. I mean, so far we see Dragon Knight, Faithful Drake, so potentially some Dragon Reinforcements here. We're not exactly sure. We do see Barbarian Salahar as well. We see Salahar going out, taking the priority, or at least the initiative, I should say, by going out and being played turn 1. And that's a card that's interesting. There's the Rakanoth. So I guess blue-red dragons, is that what we're going for here? I mean, I can understand why, you know, Rakanoth being the powerful card he is, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes for sure. Meanwhile, of course, both Salahar are going to trade, meaning 2 damage on each castle to start us out. And, of course, no healing in either color, so whatever damage they take is the damage they're left with. So DragonStorm, of course, with the Faithful Drake taking that trade, doesn't really see it as a problem, considering he has Faithful Drake as the backup. Meanwhile, Icebergsz playing Hassan City Guard. Now, honestly, I don't really see a whole lot in guards anymore. There are quite a few people who still decide to run Hassan City. Of course, looking, I guess, for the bodies from it. I can understand, too, the ability that global buffs have. And, of course, coming out with 2/3 guards. I can understand the power behind that. But I still don't know if it's really worth it to run Hassan City Guards, in my opinion, at least. I haven't really tried it since. But we'll see how it progresses. Dragon not really able to play a card this turn, so he decides to sit back, not wasting his Faithful Drake on 1 guard. Meanwhile, a trap going down from Icebergsz, so we can see that this is, or at least assume this is more of a trap-based deck. So we'll see how this goes. Dragon Knight, though, coming from DragonStorm, I'm going to go ahead and intercept this guard. What will it be? It will be Secret Dragon, of course, bringing out a 6/6 Shadow Drake, which forces all of the cards currently on the board to trade with that 6/6 Drake to eliminate it. And of course, that is quite lucky for Dragon. Of course, a green Drake would have been pretty devastating in my opinion. And of course, the ability that Viking has with Lightning Blade, it could have been a devastating early game. So we'll see what Iceberg does in response. A blacksmith to power up his 1 city guard plus metal to bring out another set of guards. So of course, now being 2/2. Okay, a little more power behind the guards, I could see, but of course, ultimately, Dragon gonna play the Dragon Temple. Okay, plus Ice Drake. I forgot he had that in his hand for a minute. I'm like, I would play a Green Drake or Barbarian, but I understand, of course, the weaker units in place, and of course, the Green Drake buffed with Dragon Temple can be quite effective. Although we do see Armory plus Salahar Soldier from Iceberg, so whew. I mean, I don't want to say this is a trap deck anymore. It might be more one that's based on early aggression, a little bit of an aggro, a little bit of rush style. But I could also see traps as well, I guess. But if until I see a dojo, I want to assume this is more of a aggro-based deck for now. Although, of course, running Secret Dragon, you might want to kind of put more money on the fact that it could be traps. We see Dragon Training from DragonStorm. Again, another interesting card, one that we don't see too often. And I mean, I could assume Dragon Training for a World Breaker early on. However, Dragon Training doesn't really work on Dragon. That's a common misconception people have. It's not necessarily it's not necessarily a Dragon discount. It's more of a Drake discount. So, something that you guys have to keep in mind about Dragon Training if you decide to run it. It's only going to work for Drakes and not Dragons. So, cards in his deck like Yenneroth, Rakanoth, or Aeroth won't be affected by Dragon Training, which is a huge setback. Having that card in your hand, where it could have been maybe a Lightning Blade, maybe it could have been a freezing card, but instead going with a going with a Drake discount. And then we see there another Secret Dragon from Iceberg, and of course being traded off pretty easily, even though it was a Green Drake, the strongest pull in the pool. Of course, being taken down by a combination of Barbarian and Green Drake. Iceberg going to respond with a Stone Drake, so of course putting a bit more of a stamp on the matchup here, a fast-flying 7/7 Ice Drake. Dragon going to have to respond with a Mordok in a not-so-favorable position. That is a great way for Chain to kick in here, but we'll see what Iceberg does. Okay, a little bit of Chain, but not exactly the Chain I was thinking of. And of course, that reacting before the Temple is pretty big on him. He gets to keep his Headless Horseman, or at least Dragon keeps keep his Headless Horseman alive. If it was the other way around, if Mordok was the attacker, that would have been a lost horseman right there. But you know, we'll see how Dragon can utilize it. It definitely Rakanoth food, or at least Rakanoth potential right there. We see Dino Rider, White Knight moving out, of course, to support the Headless Horseman. And Iceberg only got 2 cards to defend. What will he do? He'll throw out another Mordok. Of course, that's a bigger Mordok, buffed by both Blacksmith and Temple of the Five Gods. We'll see Dragon, of course, I assume, take the Rakanoth initiative, right? He will indeed. So, of course, hitting the Headless Horseman in the sack, killing off the Blacksmith, weakening Temple, and, of course, weakening Mordok. Although that is a good point about Temple, it being at 5 health, it survives big bombs like Rakanoth and Luminaris. So, something to keep in mind there when you're facing off against Temple. You do need a little bit of a initiative damage before a big bomb like Luminaris or Rakanoth to finish it off. But of course, Dragon Rider or Dino Rider gonna go ahead, trade with the Mordok, finish it off. Banshee comes out, White Knight not being able to trade with it. I think he was hoping for a Headless Horseman to make for a better trade. Ranger coming out, going to smack down that Rakanoth, and of course Banshee. Not necessarily going to smack down the White Knight, it would survive, but of course nothing really gained from that encounter. Sheep to the Slaughter, though, on that White Knight, going to hit 2 more on the castle. Not going to necessarily do damage, or at least not going to kill off the Ranger, but of course going to wipe out that chain buff that Iceberg has on the board. Vanishing Strike, though, going to go ahead and make a Super Banshee, going to go ahead and smack castle, bounce it back, meaning it's now a 6-7 game. And of course, Yarm and Ranger both moving forward to kind of put the end on this matchup. And honestly, Dragon does not really have anything to work with. We see a Yarm come out. That's going to go ahead and smack 2 on the castle, and that's going to be it. That's going to be it, really. I mean, Ranger or Yarm can finish it off based on preference. Going to use the Ranger to end off, and Iceberg will win. Now, I'm not going to lie. pretty interesting deck in terms of deck composition from both players. Not something we normally see going around. It comes on some kind of weird dragon combination from DragonStorm with the Warlock Viking. Meanwhile, Iceberg does point to signs of more trap stuff, but we did see things like Chain in there. We did see, big boys. Like, it might have been just a general good stuff deck out of the faction. Of course, Secret Dragon being an amazing trap, regardless of trap decks. So, might have been just that, but can't really tell for sure. But regardless, Iceberg taking the win here. Good on him. And we'll move on now to match number 3 for our final match of the day. Alright, guys, and for our last match, it is going to be Derek Dudge taking on Battleline. Now, not gonna lie, I was kind of excited when I was viewing this matchup, and you'll see in a moment. Derek is, of course, running Blue-Red Awakening. Again, not something you see very often. And of course, I mentioned in the video the video I did on this kind of deck, the Blue-Red Awakening. It's a difficult deck to pilot. So we'll see if Derek can come out on top here against Battleline, who looks to be running the original Awakening colors in Warlock Ninja. We'll see if that's true, however. Of course, going to start it out on Derek's side, looks like. Battleline not able to get anything out. And he'll start off with the Flame Prince, which is pretty natural, I would say. Or at least he had the option of either Flame Prince or Imp, but taking the Flame Prince instead, letting that build up slowly on the board. Getting it sniped off fairly easily by the Arc Fire. Of course, and that being in his hand, we can assume things like Headwood, Darkbender, Wizard, those could be in his deck if he has the Mage to deal 4 damage. But Arcfire going to go ahead and snipe the Flame Prince off without much trouble. We'll see Derek going to respond with a Mischievous Imp. Might as well get that on the board then. If he doesn't let me have Flame Prince, I'll just throw an Imp at him. Kind of the reasoning there. Fear from Battleline going to go ahead and push that back. Not really too significant, but he will get some draw. And we will see a Magmasaur come out. Okay. A little bit of... Okay, well, we don't see Magmasaur for long. Going to go ahead and get sniped off by the Imp damage. And, of course, Darkbender moving on up with the Imp to provide a little bit more of a threat to the board. Magmasaur going to go ahead and take a back seat. No, or at least another one going to be thrown out. And we'll get a shifting technique. So, a little bit of a range combo going on here. Magmasaur, whatever he hits, will gain Battleline a minor spell. So, it does kind of make Derek think, do I want to push, do I want to engage the castle, or do I want to just sit back for a moment, build up what I have here. He'll go with the Shaman for extra draw, looks like. He might decide to fear as well. He does. So, of course, Magmasaur being pushed back, and, of course, Derek going to go ahead and smack through on the castle, knowing that he can get an early damage lead on Battleline. Of course, that will give him a minor spell, but not going to be, I think, totally... not totally too detrimental to Derek. That's kind of the word I was looking for there. And he does pull Risky Business from it, so not exactly a strong card. Sure, it does give 2 gold, but I've gotten one of the few cards that discards in the game, so I'm not sure if Battle wants to discard anything in the near future. He'll use a Medal of Bravery and okay, I imagine maybe he might have thrown Risky Business. I think I got ahead of myself there. But we will throw out a Tyrannosaur, which we can pretty much... I think stomp to the conclusion that this is more of a Dino-based deck. I wonder if it has Awakening in it. I'm not super sure. Maybe that's a combination I want to experiment with further. Dinosaur Awakening. Not sure if I want to play around with that. But we'll see Derek push away that T-Rex back a little bit, plus the Sentry Golem, and of course Smack 2 with the Shaman. So giving Magmasaur another chance to get a minor spell. We'll see if he decides to take that, or if he just wants to chomp that down in one bite. Actually, okay, 2 shifting techniques on Magmasaur. So again, a sort of range flux, if you will, taking 2 minor spells for every combo hit. Tyrannosaur going to go ahead and finish that off by chomping down on more Shaman. For some reason I said Mordok, I don't know why. Using both Dwarven Construction and Dissipate now to kind of clean up a little bit. Dwarven Construction to give himself 1 health back to the castle. And of course Dissipating Darkbender back to the hand to force Derek to kind of pause on that for a moment. He'll resummon Darkbender, though, of course. Not really too much of an issue there for him. And, of course, that's all he's going to do for the turn. Not really able to do much else. Freezing Pillar wouldn't be able to do a whole lot. Rite of Awakenings aren't going to help here. Another Golem and Shaman. Maybe Shaman Mystic, but no, not really too much going on there. Dino Nest, though, from Battleline, going to go ahead and buff everything on this board. And that's kind of scary. Now a 4/4 Magmasaur with, of course, the power of Flux Dabs, whatever we call him nowadays. What do we call her nowadays? Boy, I'm messing up on all cylinders with that one. But Tyrannosaur, of course, getting the 10-11 stat line from 3 baby dinos coming out. We'll see how Derek responds. Definitely not a good situation for him. Shaman going to come out now, of course, to get some extra draw going. Mystic Journey as well, going to see what else he can get. And of course, throw out the Flame Prince as well with the extra gold he has left. Going to block off his Dark Bender by throwing the Golem out in front. We'll see if Battleline responds. Swordsman, of course, that's going to push right into Derek's base here. Not exactly the best situation for Derek, but we'll see. A head would come out, of course. Rite of Awakening, going to go ahead and snipe off 1 baby dino. And of course, going to use the Rite of Awakening to, or at least twice, to see what he can snipe off. He does snipe off that Magma Sword, as we can see in the back there. Of course, taking 2 damage more on the castle. Going to go ahead and wipe out more baby dinos. And of course, looks like Derek's going to have to use the Defective Flame Cannon Darkbender combo to avoid any real damage from that Swordsman. And of course, moving his Golem back to avoid getting chomped, if you will. However, Battleline going to throw yet another Swordsman down the line here, and that's something that I still think is a more underrated combination. Tyrannosaur and Swordsman gives that sort of like, it pushes the Swordsman right into the enemy line, and of course, without a direct, without range or burn to deal with him or freeze, Swordsman does become difficult to take down, and of course, a lot of damage is going on to that castle. However, we'll see Derek take this down, or at least we'll see how he takes it down. Does pull the Wind Mage, of course, a little bit of a headwood burn on the Swordsman. I think that's what he needed, though. Darkbender going to take shots at him for 4. Wind Mage pushes the Swordsman back, and of course, I think Shaman's the one to trade with him, right? Yep, go ahead, Shaman, go ahead doing that. And of course, with the baby dino taken out, Tyrannosaur does lose his 2-2 buff, of course, so moving down to an 8-9. Still buff thanks to all the baby dinos that came out to give him, again, additional 1-1 stats, but overall, T-Rex is pretty weak, and Mordok going to give him that 2-2 right back, though, plus a baby dino for another 1-1 buff. Now an 11-12 T-Rex and a 5-6 Mordok. However, Derek does have the answer yet again. Of course, Freezing Pillar going to go ahead and put a stop to both of those temporarily for a moment, and we see there are all of Derek's units lining up to take down the sort of big buffed units from Battleline. Of course, I'm not worried about positioning too much, considering Chain isn't a threat here. And of course, we see Battleline having his units frozen. Going to be difficult for him to get out of. We see Arcanon Magic Eater coming out as a response, plus Pyromancer, plus Ignition. Honestly, I didn't really think people played Ignition in their deck, considering it's a 0 gold, 1 damage sort of area spell. I mean, not really a lot going on with that deck, but again, and now, oh boy. If Derek didn't end the game already, I think he just did. That is a Lightning Blade at the most opportune time possible. T-Rex Fear Aura pushing Pyromancer away, opening up the castle in a way that's not really favorable to Battleline. We'll see Lightning Blade go ahead thrown on Sentry Golem. Powering up Magic Eater a little bit, but of course 6 damage coming in, 3 additional from the Chain. And of course, everything getting absolutely demolished here. Darkbender going to go ahead and end the game off with 4 damage on the castle, and that is a win for Derek. Now, I'm not going to lie here. Honestly, to me, watching Derek pull off the Blue-Red Awakening, it's fun to watch. It really is. While Battleline has some interesting deck composition in the form of sort of red-purple dinosaurs, I think what ultimately cost him there was that Freezing Pillar at the most inopportune time possible, having his Pyromancer pushed back, opening up his castle to a devastating Lightning Blade. Now, let's not lie here, that was a pretty lucky Lightning Blade pull at the kind of most precise time he needed it. And I don't know how Derek would have gotten around, big dinos like that. I mean, the Lightning Blade did weaken him a little bit, but honestly, if that castle had more HP, if Battleline would have survived fatal or lethal damage, it'd be interesting to see how Derek would have responded to cards, like the Tyrannosaur, like the Mordok. I mean, the Freezing Pillar we did see come in, they froze him for sure, but you never really know how it could end until it actually does. So, that being said, an excellent way to end off our commentary for the day. Big congrats to Derek for pulling off the Warlock Viking Awakening, or at least pulling it off in one way that's entertaining to watch for this video. And overall, I think good match to both of them. And what a way to end off this episode of TV commentary. With that being said, guys, if you did enjoy this edition of TV Commentary, be sure to let me know what you thought by leaving your comments down in the comments section below. If you haven't already done so, be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and of course, hit that subscribe button if you are new. Show your support to the channel by clicking the subscribe button at no additional cost to you. That's going to be it for me for now, guys. So, until next time, stay game.